Okay, don't forget to save. Saving is very important. Hey everyone, my name's Tyler Kaschke. I'm a freelance gaffer based in Denver, Colorado. I make lighting diagrams of my favorite setups and post them on Instagram at Colorado Gaffer. Today, I'm going to show you how I make them using Diagram Master in the Cytoslink app. So the shot we're looking at today is from a recent commercial project, and the goal was really to kind of create something that was high-key and naturalistic. So let's jump into how it was made. So this frame here is the final result, and now let's jump into Diagram Master and start building it piece by piece. Here we are in Diagram Master. We're going to press this plus button to create a new project. I generally just make an agile project because it's easier, and we'll call this video YouTube because the name of the project is irrelevant. Okay, so we jump in, create a role. Here we are in the scene info, and we will just call this kitchen scene, and it was located in Denver. And generally when I do this, I like to start by building my set, so walls, windows, and any sort of important structures or furniture. Select the wall icon there, and you press it once, and you can sort of just drag these, just slowly pulling it over. Okay, so that's a wall. And then I always like having my reference image nearby to remember exactly how things were set up. I also take a lot of behind the scenes video and photos. I feel like the diagrams are a great tool for pre-production on a scout and things like that to communicate to your team what needs to be done. But after the fact, if I am really happy with the final image, I like to make the diagram after the fact to really kind of cement that technique in my mind. I feel like by going through the motions and really diving in on that, it helps helps me remember what I'm supposed to do next time. So we can rotate these by pressing this. It's only the horizontal walls that are giving me any guff here. We're gonna drop a window in. That's a kind of bigger window, so we'll increase the size a bit and kind of lay that in there like so. One thing that I like to do is go into my settings and the scene and shut off show marks, and it kind of keeps the image a little less cluttered. There we go. We're going to drop in this an island in the kitchen. After our scene is kind of built, we drop in our talent, roughly where they're going to be. And again, I like to shut off the marks on character as well because it's kind of self-explanatory. After that, you can jump in and put your camera kind of where it's situated. And I also do like to be a little bit more specific about the type of camera that we use. And this was an Alexa Mini. Cool, so now the fun part can really begin, and that's where we start putting in our lights and modifiers. So in this particular shot, this main window here was facing west, and we were shooting in the afternoon. So we were going to be getting some weird sort of afternoon sunlight, so we wanted to block that out. So that was one of the first things that went up, was a big 12 by Grifflin, which is a less fancy version of Ultra Bounce. It's basically like a tarp that's black and white on one side, or black on one side and white on the other. So we can go in here and we can find, what would that be under? Spots and bounces. And I'm not too concerned about the rigging, materials and stuff like that here. This was a 12 by, so we're going to increase the size to probably like 2 times. Great, so we blocked out the sun. And then we had an Arri M40 out the window, which is something that I like to do. It's just a nice look. And this was kind of angled in such a way where it was behind the Grifflin and it was going to be coming in and not hitting the talent directly, but kind of just scraping along the backside here. We had some quarter straw in front of that light, which is under gel. And we'll call that 1/4 CTS. Cool. And then something I like doing with the lights here is turning on the light beam indicator. And that just kind of helps illustrate, you know, the direction of the lights. And so much of it is also just trying to get these stupid little lines to line up and not be in the way. Great, that's more or less where we're at here. That's fine, we're close. So that's everything outside. Then inside, we also had a lot of windows kind of on the east side. So we wanted to black those out and kind of create some negative fill for our talent. So if we go into cutters and patterns, there's not a good icon for solids. So I use the wag flag icon here and then kind of adjust it in size accordingly. And then I'll rename that 12 by 12 solid. Then we had our key light, which was an Aperture Nova 300, kind of over here in the corner of the kitchen on the other side. And we'll turn on the beam angle, or the beam rather here. We modified that by putting a 2x3 flag on the side to keep the light off of the shiny, you know, the refrigerator and some of the other more reflective surfaces in the kitchen. Actually, we had a second one as a bottomer to keep it off the countertop as well. And you can go in here and you can duplicate like that. I'm gonna rename this 2x3 solid. Now we're getting somewhere. All right, the last thing we did here was to bring up the ambient fill in the room. We did that with two Aperture 600Ds with the spotlight attachment bounced off of bleached muslin that was taped to the ceiling. And that has become one of my favorite ways to act as a key light or even as a fill light in this instance. Okay, and this is a spotlight. It was not hitting our subject. We just kind of had it off to the side here like this. And we'll duplicate that, basically one solid beam. And then we will make our butterfly. This was a 6x bleached muslin that we had on the ceiling. It's always kind of tough to signify things that are on the ceiling or overhead just because everything's coming from the top down. Let me reference, at this point, you know, this is kind of like the gist of everything here. But at this point I like to reference behind the scenes videos or photos and the final image a couple more times just to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. Don't forget to save. Saving is very important. I've done this so many times where if you switch out of this app and you don't save, you lose everything you just did. So the last couple things that I would like to add, just one more window here that we did black out that was also in the kitchen. I feel like it's good to take note of those things. We had a 4x4 floppy out the window, blocking the light. Also going to put in one more wall here so we've got a sense of space a little bit more defined. It's kind of a corner there. And then the last thing was, and this is important when you're bouncing light, is having a solid kind of underneath so the beams of light don't spill onto the subject and flatten out your image. And a lot of this stuff too is just feels like you know, you're making an image, it's artwork, you know, so you can kind of take the time to adjust things and get your angles right, and no need to really rush through this stuff. It makes it pretty. I mean, the Sidus Link, in my opinion, is one of the most aesthetically pleasing diagram programs out there. I've seen a lot of others that don't look nearly as nice, and it's kind of the reason I like using this, even though it does have some limitations. But it also gives you a lot of flexibility at the same time. So it's pretty much the setup. So again, to kind of reiterate this stuff, we started with a west-facing window. We blocked it out, blocked out the direct sun with this 12 by 12 griffin. We had an area M40 with a quarter straw, kind of as some warm sunlight and a back edge for our talent. Our key light was an Aperture Nova that we used two 2x3 flags to kind of control the beam angle and keep it from spraying all over the room. And then we used two Aperture 600Ds with spotlight attachments, shooting across the room into the ceiling and then bouncing off of the bleached muslin that kind of gave us a motivated fill light that was motivated by the back window. And we probably wouldn't have had to use two 600Ds if it weren't for the M40 outside. But that whole balancing act, you know, trying to make everything look natural, and that's really, can be a challenge sometimes. All right, so that's about it. From there, you can press the arrow buttons, make it full screen, take a screenshot, share it with your team. Lighting diagrams are an extremely valuable visual communication tool. I use them on every job, and they really help crews run more efficiently. If you want to learn more about this sort of thing, follow me on Instagram @ColoradoGaffer. Thanks.